Hey there.
Oh, hey there. Whoa.
How are you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's weird you asked me first.
I know, I squeezed that in real fast.
I only think because you probably know what happened, so. Yeah, it's a sad buffoons podcast for me. My father just passed away. And yeah, it's been a little tough on that aspect, but we wanted to still record and take my mind off of things. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I got to babysit his kids.
Yep. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and well, they did a family thing, and they were so sweet to me.
Yeah,
they were good for me.
Yeah, they're pretty good
Except
kids.
for the giant poopy mashed potato diaper.
Oh, did she? Ooh,
Oh yeah. I got my finger stuck in it and everything.
Ew, gross.
So
Yeah,
that's what you missed.
We appreciated you doing that. That was very kind of you. So we could go up and see my mom and my brothers. And yeah, it's been a little weird, but you know, we'll make it through. Got some good people in my life to help me do that. And,
Yeah.
miss my dad, of course, but Kate almost dropped her laptop.
Wow.
That was pretty great. And the time I decided not to start recording episodes, I could have got that gem on video, but either way. But yeah, so I will try and not bring the podcast down. I apologize.
Well, and later we're gonna have a scotch and kind of do a little salute to his dad.
My dad enjoyed his scotch. He had a very basic one that he was very frugal, and he had a very basic one that he enjoyed to have. And well, because he bought it in bulk, he had multiple bottles left. So I took one home.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a scotch, one of my dad's scotches later to pay a little tribute to my dad and yeah, just enjoy that and reminisce about. I'll probably tell Kate some stories.
Yeah.
About my dad, like when he told me to wash his car with my buddy, and we were messing around because we were in high school or whatever it was, and no, we were in 8th grade, and yeah, I ended up breaking my wrist.
You did?
I did. My buddy broke my wrist. Wasn't intentional. We were just goofing around. And
How do you break a wrist washing a car? You've got like sponges and a hose.
Should I just tell you? Little story time here?
Yeah.
Okay. So where the house I grew up at had a turnabout, like kind of thing, in the driveway before you got up to the main part of the garage. So we parked the car there, had to haul the hose out and whatever, and we're sitting there washing his old green Acura that he used to have. And so, of course, my buddy and I started goofing around and fake fighting or whatever. So we're like on the front lawn and wrestling or whatever, and he knocked me down and decided to body slam me.
Ouch.
And so I put my hands up to stop it, but my elbows were on the ground.
So it had no
give.
Yeah.
And so when he landed on my right wrist, and
just kind of
yeah, it wasn't like a big break or anything. It was a little fracture, I guess.
Yeah.
But then
one of your carpals.
Yeah, probably. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. I think it might have been. But either way, so we go up to the house, and my dad's doing whatever he was doing in the house. And I go, Dad, I think I need to go to the hospital. He's like, no, you don't. Go finish washing the car. So my buddy and I walked back outside to the car, and I'm like, I was in pain, obviously. And I go back in, and I'm like, no, Dad, I think I have to go to the hospital. I think I broke my wrist. And we went to the hospital, and sure as shit, broke my wrist. And
you're fine, just walk it off.
Yeah, he was the type of guy that would say, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah.
And so we went to the hospital. My buddy came with. We ended up dropping him off on the way home, and I had a cast in 8th grade. And I always remember when it is, too, because it's when the Offspring's album came out, and the video for Come Out and Play was there. The drummer had a cast on his arm.
Yeah, he lost me with...
I know, but some other people, Al might get it.
Okay.
But I
think it's a band he's talking about, folks.
Yeah, it is. The Offspring. Yes, it's a band.
Go me.
And they, obviously, me being a drummer, I thought it was funny because he also had
That's funny.
a cast. Unless I'm just having a Mandela effect here and remembering it wrong. But
yeah,
You never know. But yeah, that was the type of guy my dad was.
Yeah.
He's like, rub some dirt on it, man. You're good. No, I
Good story.
I need to go. So, anyways, well,
what kind of beer do you have to get you going this podcast episode?
You had previously done a Founders, the all day IPA, which you liked, which you've had before, but you liked it, wanted it again. So I saw this. I didn't do an all day. I did a Founders though, and they have a Centennial IPA featuring Centennial hops. So I like my IPAs. This should be a little more hop forward compared to your all day, which is
a little bit more hippity hop.
Yeah, Peter Rabbit. There's mine.
All right, so I've got a Lakefront Brewery, which I believe is
Milwaukee still.
Oh, is it Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Okay, and this one is called Dive Beer. It is a Milwaukee lager.
Yep.
And it kind of looks like a drive-in movie screen kind of a thing.
Does it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Dive Beer.
Whoa, that went all over your arm. All right, well, cheers.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, yeah, I like it.
Ooh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's not bad either. Let me take another sip of this.
Yeah, mine's pretty good. I like it. I would say if 5 was like...
Are we doing 1 to 5?
Yeah, let's do 1 to 5. I think like if 5 was like excellent, 5 stars.
Right.
I would probably rate this about a 3.5 to 4, somewhere around there. It's pretty good. I like it.
Mine's not bad. Out of 5, I would probably give mine a 3.
Okay.
So, it is not as hoppy as I thought it would be.
Peter.
I know. He petered out.
Hey.
See what I did there?
We are comedian knots.
Comedian knots.
Knots.
No, we're buffoons.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question for you.
You do? Okay.
Did you ever in your life have like a plan B? Like,
like instead of going this way?
Yeah. You have a backup plan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I did.
Yeah. Is that something you can share?
Yeah, I divorced my ex-wife.
So you went plan B.
Yeah, I did
like,
plan
this wasn't
B.
working.
Yeah, because plan AAA did not work. And I'll give you the joke on that later. I'm not going to share that because I'm not saying her name, but
yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that was my plan B.
And you went with it.
I had to.
Yeah, you had to.
I fear there was an early grave if I didn't.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome to the rest of your life.
How about you?
So I wanted to be a biologist of some sort.
Right.
And I went through so many like quote unquote career changes that I don't think I ever had a plan A. I just did whatever came.
Which is understandable.
And it's always been really successful.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah. But I guess when I was selling hearing aids, I didn't want to do that. I didn't like the price of hearing aids and me like I didn't like sales.
You couldn't peddle those.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, I understand that.
And I wanted to, actually, I didn't even know this was a thing. I became an esthetician.
Right.
So I could pop pimples for a living. And I didn't know that that was a thing. I thought it was just dermatology.
Sure, I get that.
And my husband, who I was dating at the time, was like, look into that. See if there's something else. And sure shit, I could be an esthetician.
The whole world.
I went to esthetician school within like a month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, of like quitting my job. Like it was such a quick turnaround. It was great.
Sure.
And it's been great ever since.
Well, okay, if we're going that route, my plan A was to be a rock star.
That's right, yeah.
I've played the drums the majority of my life. I wanted to play drums for a living, and I will blame myself 100% for that not end up being the case.
Yeah.
And I also will blame my other plan A that I went to plan B with, the ex-wife. She was not very supportive.
It's terrible.
She, wanted to keep me down from like going places and doing things. And that's what you need to do when you're in a band. You have to go play shows and you have to do all that. And it was hard when you were under lock and key all the time. So, but I'm not here to bash the devil. I'll just move on.
Well, we're going to talk about Traudl Junge.
Traudl Junge.
Her plan A was to be a ballerina.
Ballerina?
Mm-hmm. But her plan B kind of took over.
Sure.
Okay.
So was it a unintentional plan B?
It was a fallback that became the forerunner.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Traudl Junge was born Gertrude Humps in Munich, Germany.
I love that last name.
Humps. And she was born on March 16th, 1920. Okay. She came from a family like oozing in like right-wing ideology.
Okay.
Her father, Max Humps, was a master brewer.
Ooh.
And he had anti-Republican, national, and anti-Semitic views.
So did they say where he was a master brewer at?
No. My information, like 90% of my information came from Traudl Junge's own like autobiography.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So she wrote a book.
Yes.
Did she write? She wrote the book?
She wrote the book.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, she died prior to it being released. So it was released
posthumously?
Yeah, posthumously. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But the book, and this kind of gives way to the time era that we're talking about.
You already said she was born in 1920.
That's fair. So the book is called Until the Final Hour, Hitler's Last Secretary.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was Traudl Junge. Okay.
I mean, that makes sense because, the war ended at 45, right? Is that right?
Yes.
So, I mean, she was only 25.
Yes.
So, I mean, it kind of led me to believe that it was World War II based.
So her father, Max, actively participated in the Freikorps, which is Free Corps in America.
By the way, the name Max Humps is just fucking hilarious. It's also funny because I guess I never even said this maybe on the podcast. My dog died too.
You did once.
Did I?
Yeah,
okay. I couldn't remember, but his name was Max.
Yeah.
Luckily, he didn't hump. Anyways,
I beg to differ.
Did he? Oh no, he did that to you.
He did that to me, and I have it on video because he did it to your daughter, and I was like, "Max, get off her!"
That's right. So Max humps. There you go.
Yep.
Wow. Traudl and me have something in common.
Okay. He actively participated in the Freikorps, which is a paramilitary group that clashed with leftist parties in the early Weimar Republic, which is the German Reich.
Gotcha.
So Max's extremism extended by joining the Nazi Party.
Okay.
And he failed a coup d'etat.
Oh.
Yes. And he evaded arrest, but was unable to get employment, so he left for Turkey, abandoning his family.
Oh, so he just up and left because he failed?
Yeah.
And like, well, I got to go get work. See ya.
Yeah.
Peace, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Does Turkey have a famous master brewing class or something?
I don't know.
I mean, did it ever say what he did after he left, or does it kind of just end with him there?
No, it ends with him, leaving. And so, huge financial burden on Traudl's mother.
Obviously.
And she struggled to make ends meet.
Yeah,
so,
don't we all?
Traudl went to school to help. She went to school and which served as like a breeding ground for Nazi ideology.
Of course.
There were discussions which normalized concepts like the Nuremberg laws, which is about like racial hygiene, and the Jewish question. Like, what do we do with the Jewish?
That's fucked up that's even a question. But
yeah.
I understand the time frame, so I get it.
So one of the laws was the law of protection of German blood and German honor. And it forbade marriages and extramarital intercourse between Jews and Germans.
So it forbade it, but it doesn't mean you couldn't do it. I mean, just saying.
And then the employment of German females under 45 in Jewish households.
Oh, so 46, you can go work in a Jewish household, but if you're under 45 or younger, that's weird.
The other law was the Reich citizenship law, which declared that only those of German or related blood were eligible to be Reich citizens. And the remainder were classified as state subjects without citizenship rights.
State subjects. Wow. Yes. Okay.
So as Traudl readily accepted the notion of Bolshevism as like a threat to civilization, I'm saying that word a lot.
That's all right.
Civilization, she embraced the rise of Adolf Hitler.
Okay.
And she later described it as like a national liberation. It's a chance for Germany to regain hope, confidence,
and their failure of World War One.
Fueled by this optimism, she joined the German Girls League in 1935.
So she would have been, 15 then?
And yes, it was the only legal female youth organization in Nazi Germany. It was the girls' wing of the Nazi Party youth movement.
Okay.
So balancing the need to help her family financially and then her dream of becoming a dancer, she did opt to go to a commercial college.
Sure. In
1936.
Okay. So what was the name of the women's league thing again? Sorry.
It was the German Girls League.
Was that probably equivalent's not the right word, I don't think, but is that somewhat equivalent to the Hitler Youth thing they had?
Yes,
or
it is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
So balancing the need to help her family, she ended up going to college. So she learned practical skills like shorthand and typing, and she was able to get a job really quickly. So her first position was a clerk, and it ended abruptly because of sexual harassment from her superior.
Oh, dear.
Apparently he pulled her aside and showed her some porn or something.
They had porn back then?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Look at this magazine I found in the ditch.
It's probably someone's ankles.
You have some nice ankles. What?
In 1938, Traudl joined the Faith and Beauty program.
Faith and Beauty?
Mm-hmm, a new wing of the German Girls' League targeting Aryan women age 18 to 21.
Okay.
And it served as a tie-in between the League of German Girls and the National Socialist Women's League.
Gotcha.
So the group's mission was to instill Nazi ideology in young women, shaping them to be incarnations of beauty, future mothers who would raise children devoted to the regime.
Wow. I mean,
all in the family.
Yeah, I mean, they really kept it. They tried to get them young, I guess.
So she really wanted to be a ballerina. She did continue to take classes and everything.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Yes, but war basically put everything on a standstill.
Which is understandable.
Yeah. So in 1941, after passing her dance exams, Nazi control over jobs meant individual ideals were secondary to them.
Yeah. So if you want to be a dancer, fuck you. Go do this because we need you to.
So this is Plan B.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you said she took classes for being a ballerina? Mm-hmm. She never went to college or anything for that.
No, but she did have exams, so to speak, or final projects, I guess, final dances.
Okay, that's why I asked that because I wasn't sure if it was a school type setting or just a class that she took. So
yeah.
Okay.
So her reality of not being a ballerina brought her to Berlin, and a position in the new Reich Chancellery opened up.
Did you say where she was born in Germany?
Munich.
Munich, okay.
Mm-hmm. So, in late 1942, Hitler had 3 secretaries.
That's a lot of secretaries, man.
Frau Christian. He had a lot to say, if you recall.
Yeah, I mean,
he had a lot to say.
He was always talking.
So, Frau Christian, and he trusted her exclusively.
So she was top dog in the secretary world for him?
But she recently left. She was getting old, up there in age.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
So she went to go work in a Jewish home? Was she 46? I mean, that's still just a weird ass thing, but all right.
No, I just like how you brought it right around. So Hitler relied on the other 2 pretty heavily. So Fraulein Wolf and Fraulein Schroeder. Okay. But they also were kind of getting up there in age, and Hitler wanted to recruit some younger secretaries.
Sure.
So in November 1942, 10 young women, including Traudl, were summoned to Führer headquarters.
Was she still Gertrude at this time?
Traudl is a nickname for Gertrude.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's a weird nickname. All right.
Yeah. So, moving on. So they traveled to Rastenburg Station, which is in East Prussia.
Okay.
And they were invited onto a luxurious guest train.
Sure.
And that's where they waited to meet Hitler.
Okay.
So days and days passed
before he showed up.
Before their introduction. Yeah.
Oh shit.
So in the meantime, the women pretended they were on vacation, essentially.
Well, why not at that point?
Yeah, they explored the forest around them. They treated themselves very well with fancy liquor in the dining car.
Were they just like basically catered to them? Like, here's your dinners and stuff. They were fed while they were waiting.
And they had like snowball fights, and they went hiking in the woods and that kind of thing.
Showed some ankle at the local tavern.
Exactly. So unexpectedly, in the middle of the night, they were summoned finally to go meet Hitler.
Well, it's on his schedule, not theirs.
So women were in a tizzy.
Sure.
Yeah, they were sleeping.
Yep.
So panic, disarray, franticness. They all got dressed, put on makeup, and they were guided through multiple checkpoints and down a long path to the Fuhrer bunker, which is called the Wolf's Lair at this point.
Okay.
And this is in East Prussia.
Gotcha.
Okay. The guards let them in basically without searching any of their bags, their person, because they all had like terrified looks on their faces.
So like these people aren't going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's pretty wild though. I mean, even if they look terrified, you're not going to pat them down to make sure this isn't some like assassin for Hitler.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So inside, a narrow concrete corridor led them to a waiting room, which was shared by other domestic staff and Hitler's orderlies.
Gotcha. Okay.
So his valet informed them that Hitler was feeding his dogs and instructed them on what to do. Hitler would address them first, and they were to only reply with Heil mein Führer. Okay. So led by Albert Bormann, who was an adjutant, he was a military officer who did like admin work.
Okay.
They proceeded to Hitler's study, passing through a cute little tea room. Upon entering the study, Hitler greeted them all warmly, shaking each of their hands and asking their names and where they're from. And like I said, this is all coming from Traudl herself.
Right.
So after a brief exchange, they were dismissed, and they never even got a chance to say, like, Heil mein Führer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think they were all just shocked.
I would imagine, yeah.
So the women were told that they would be required to do a dictation test for the Fuhrer.
Okay.
So days, again, turned into weeks of just nothing. And then finally, Traudl and one other woman were requested to perform their test.
So the other, you said 10 total? So the other 8
yes,
were just dismissed? Or?
No, they were just waiting around for their turn.
They just called those two. Okay.
Yeah, they called this woman and Traudl first.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Traudl actually did perform the dictation first. So with just her and Hitler in a closed-off room, she typed his dictation. She does not remember like what it was about because she was so nervous.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Upon finishing her test, Hitler complimented her for a job well done, and Traudl left his office and returned to sit with the other secretary.
Okay.
And Traudl kind of explained her experience with the other woman. Here's what I did. Here's what he likes, etc.
Wow. So she's giving her notes.
Yes.
That's kind of nice of her.
Mm-hmm. Hitler suddenly appeared and offered Traudl the job without any other woman getting a chance.
Oh, wow. So he must have impressed her quite a bit then, because you got all these other women waiting to take your dictation. And
So she stayed there. The other 9 went back to Berlin.
Oh, they probably had to be pretty sad to get off their little party train.
Maybe not knowing eventually what happens. Maybe they're like, I think I dodged a bullet with that one.
Yeah, but she lived. Because she wrote this autobiography. So, I mean, I wonder if those other 9 women lived through
That's fair.
the war.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's it. That would be kind of interesting to find out. We probably never could.
Maybe plan A was to work for Hitler and plan B was something entirely different.
Could have been a chef.
Could have been a chef. Look at that. Maybe she could be employed for Hitler another way.
Well, let's move on.
Excellent decision. So Hitler frequently asked Traudl for dictation. So on January 30th, 1943, she was called in expecting like an oath or a swearing in or something, like a ceremony.
Sure.
As the other 2 senior secretaries were also there. So she's like expecting like a formal something rather.
Okay.
It wasn't anything like that.
Oh.
He was just like, hey, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. She's hired.
Yeah, she's the new girl.
Yeah, basically.
Fair enough.
But he did pull her side.
Oh.
He cautioned her about the attention she might receive from his guards and other male colleagues.
Oh, really?
And assured her that she could come to him at any point for protection.
Oh, wow. I mean, you got the top dog protecting you, and even though he's a piece of shit.
Yep. So from that day forward, as his secretary, she had regular interactions with him.
Okay.
Dictation, taking long walks with him, and having meals with him.
Oh, wow. So she kind of became his almost right-hand man in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
Right-hand woman.
She wasn't called upon for dictation initially.
Okay.
So instead, her routine for like the first 4 weeks would involve like checking in each morning and seeing if there were any tasks for her.
Gotcha.
And then she would inform the valet on duty of her whereabouts. Like, I've got nothing going on, so here's where I'll be.
Yeah, I suppose he probably wanted to have them accessible at any moment,
right.
So they had to check in, basically.
Right.
Makes sense.
So during this period, she took the opportunity to get to know those close to Hitler.
Sure, makes sense.
And this included the valets.
Right.
Heinz Ling.
Heinz?
Mm-hmm. And Hans Junge.
Do you think Heinz's nickname was Ketchup?
No.
Okay.
So they alternated shifts every other day, the two valets.
Okay.
And they were selected from Hitler's personal bodyguards.
Oh, wow.
Their roles were pretty demanding.
Sure.
So they would manage his daily routine, his meals, his wardrobe. They were basically functioning like personal assistants.
Yeah, sounds that way. I mean,
yeah.
If they're doing all of those different tasks. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So Traudl noticed Hitler's preference for attractive women.
Oh.
And it was more important to him than pretty much any other quality.
Yeah, just the looks.
Mm-hmm.
So he liked the cover, not the pages?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. But she defied him and his initial warning of men watching her because she began a relationship with his valet, Hans Junge.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a little frisky with the Hans.
Yeah. So it wasn't a secret to Hitler or any of his inner circle. So
sure. They were open about it.
They were. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So one of their motivations to marry eventually was to secure Hans's position on the front lines.
Oh.
Yes. So this is a quote from Traudl.
Okay.
Hans Junge was a particular favorite of the Führer's, serving him devotedly and with a strong sense of duty. All the same, he was anxious to get further away from Hitler. He was one of the few people to realize that in the long run, Hitler's ideas would have such an effect on you that in the end you wouldn't know what you had thought of yourself and what was due to outside influence. Hans wanted his sense of objectivity back. End quote.
Wow. So basically what he's saying there is Hitler knew how to get in your head and look what he did. Obviously, it's amazing that he did that to all those people, but could you imagine being that close to him and having that affect you like that and him have the right sense of mind to fucking notice it? I mean, that's pretty impressive because usually you don't even notice it because, well, they're so close. They're steering your brain for you, basically. And it's wild. But good on him to be like, yeah, I got to go. Yeah. This is probably not good for me.
So Hitler agreed for Traudl and Hans to marry.
Aw.
Because apparently they needed his permission. I don't know.
You don't have to ask for dads. You got to ask for Führers. So.
But while Hans was going to the front lines, he's like, Traudl can stay working for me. So Traudl and Hans had a brief honeymoon at Lake Constance, which is a lake between Switzerland, Germany, and Austria.
Oh, okay.
And then he left for duty.
Did they, and sorry if I'm jumping on the gun on this, does it say exactly like where he went to the front lines and stuff? Okay. No.
If he did, I did not write it down.
That's fine.
So Traudl started observing Hitler's dreams of like what would happen after the war.
Okay.
He wanted to be surrounded by artists and academics, and she thought that was super, super odd to be thinking of, considering how bad the war was escalating.
Well, yeah, and wasn't Hitler a artist?
Yeah, I think so.
At a young age, and then something like that, and obviously he wrote his book Mein Kampf, whatever. But it's funny that this guy who basically wanted to annihilate an entire race, the Jewish people, was like, yeah, I want to paint and have these people around me painting, and
he wanted to retire in Austria.
Isn't that where he's originally from? I believe. He wasn't born in Germany.
No?
I don't think so.
Unless
I'm mixing up my Hitlers, but but no, I think I want to say he was originally from Austria, but I guess I don't know.
Yeah, he was born in Austria. Look at you.
Yeah. I might be a buffoon, but I know random stuff.
Yeah. So he wanted to be like far away from the military world, which is kind of
like after the facts kind of thing.
He imagined his future self dictating his memoirs with Wolf and Schroeder, and he would think that Traudl would like move on with his lives. But so he was imagining like his older secretaries hanging around and like being with him.
Okay, sure.
So Hans Junge ended up dying.
Oh, weird.
He was in Normandy. He had an airstrike, and
that wasn't like D-Day Normandy airstrike, was it? It was just
I don't know when it
happened to be Normandy. And,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either way.
So SS liaison officer Hermann Fengeling relayed this information to Hitler.
Okay.
And he relayed it to Traudl because Hitler didn't want to face her himself.
Oh. Really? Mm-hmm. Because it was basically his fault. He wanted to go to the front lines kind of thing.
Eventually, when they crossed paths, he did express some sorrow.
Well, that's super nice.
Yeah. Wow. So by January 1945, Nazi defeat was a pretty heavy cloud.
It was imminent.
Yeah. And Traudl and the rest of Hitler's staff relocated to the Fuhrer bunker
the main
in the center of Berlin.
Yep.
Yep. Bunker is not an understatement. It is a bunker.
Oh, his thing was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was like a little city underneath the ground, basically.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
So, taken from Traudl Young's book, quote, by now the Fuhrer's huge underground bunker in the grounds of the Reich Chancellery had been made ready. 11 meters, or 12 yards, of thick, reinforced concrete covered the little cabins and rooms inside, but only a flat roof emerged above ground level. The bunker was intended only for temporary accommodation during an air raid, but when an incendiary bomb made the living rooms above ground uninhabitable, particularly the library, it became permanent living space for Hitler and his staff. But in the evening, punctual as clockwork, enemy aircraft came over, and we had to dine with Hitler in the little room in the bunker where he lived and worked. It was a tiny place in the very heart of the new Fuhrer bunker, end quote.
Wow. I mean, could you imagine living underground like that? Like you're in your own little hobbit hole.
Yeah. I think that would be stifling.
Yeah, I mean, I would think.
Yeah. So the taking of Berlin was rapidly becoming worse.
Okay.
And Hitler dismissed his older secretaries.
Why did they get to be dismissed?
I don't know. Maybe he had a kind soul for them, and he was like, get out while you can.
He did not have a kind soul.
I know.
He was a dick.
I know. But he cared about the people super close to him, and that's about it.
Yeah, that was kind of evident with his weirdness, but still.
So by the end of April, the Red Army was closing in.
Yep.
And despite the imminent defeat, Hitler clung to some like weird delusional hope.
Well, I mean, if you're in that position, you kind of have to.
Yeah, he was like saying that we're going to have some last stand fights.
Yeah.
Anyone retreating are going to get executed. Like he was trying to stand firm.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Even escape suggestions were dismissed. He had this like fear of public humiliation. Like they would catch him, put him on display, etc.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he was like worried about that?
Yeah. So the public humiliation outweighed like any desire for survival.
So that's probably part of the reason why he ended up killing himself.
Yeah.
And his wife, Eva Braun.
So in this chaos, Hitler dictated his final will and testament to Traudl.
Oh, wow.
Leaving everything to the crumbling Nazi party.
Should have gave it to Traudl. At least she could have used it.
I know. She says, quote, side by side, we go to his conference room. I am about to remove the cover from my typewriter, but the Fuhrer says, take it down on the shorthand pad. I sit down alone at the big table and wait. Hitler stands in his usual place by the broad side of the table, leans both hands on it, and stares at the empty tabletop. no longer covered today with maps or street plans. For several seconds, if the concrete didn't act like a drum skin, mercilessly amplifying the reverberations of every bomb blast and every shot, you could have only heard the breathing of two human beings.
Wow.
Then suddenly the Fuhrer utters the first words, "My political statement." For a moment, my hand trembles. Now at last I shall hear what we've been waiting for days. An explanation of what has happened, a confession, even a confession of guilt, or perhaps a justification. This final document of the 1,000-year Reich should contain the real truth, told by a man with nothing left to lose, end quote.
Wow.
But the answer is no.
Oh, so really?
Yep. She said it was hollow, there was no passion, and there were no justifications.
So he was just putting some words down.
Pretty much.
Wow, that's disappointing because, yeah, you like, all right, cool. We can finally understand the reason behind the madness. Mm-hmm. And, well, that was disappointing.
Pretty much.
That sucks.
On April 28th, 1945, Hitler married Eva Braun, his longtime girlfriend.
Correct.
And they pledged their Aryan descent.
Good Lord.
Before being married.
Well, yeah. Duh.
So during the forced wedding festivities, Traudl continued typing up Hitler's last will and testament when Goebbels arrived in her office, and he was crying. Goebbels. He was crying. Goebbels was ordered to leave Berlin for a new government role.
Oh, really?
But he refused.
Well, yeah, because he was all about the Hitler.
Mm-hmm. He dictated a testament defying Hitler for the first time, choosing death.
Okay.
With National Socialism over life without it.
What a dumbass.
So once her documents were typed, the wills and testaments were taken out of Berlin by a courier.
Sure.
I do not know where they went.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know that. Like, did they survive? Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So Hitler was paranoid that the cyanide capsule he was going to take wouldn't entirely kill him.
Okay.
And then he'd be taken into custody of the Red Army and be ridiculed and degraded.
Yeah.
So he tested his cyanide capsule on his dog.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What a dick. Seriously, that dude was a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then Braun, unwilling to live without him, also agreed to take her own life.
Oh, Lord.
So farewells were exchanged. Heinz Linz, one of the valets,
the other one, yeah,
recounted Eva Braun's composed demeanor as she came up and thanked him. She thanked him for his discretion regarding her husband's demise. Okay. So it was like planned that they're going to keep everything discreet. And
yeah. Wow.
And Joseph Goebbels also attempted to sway Hitler's decision, but ultimately chose to stay by his side.
Oh, really?
He was no, you can survive this.
And Hitler's like, nah, I got to go, man.
And he goes, okay, I will too. Fine.
So did Goebbels also? He didn't kill himself, did he?
He did.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm.
That's how Goebbels died?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Hitler called upon Heinz Ling for one last exchange.
Yep.
And Ling described a frail, defeated figure who issued a final order, suicide.
Okay.
So he did a final salute, a weak handshake, and Hitler closed the door.
Oh, so they did it behind closed doors?
They did.
Okay.
So Traudl Junge recounted the chilling silence broken by a single gunshot on April 30th. The news was clear. Hitler, Eva Braun had taken their lives.
Okay.
So witnessing the aftermath, Rokas Misch, a bodyguard, described a slumped Hitler and Eva laying beside him.
Okay.
So chaos then ensued in the Fuhrer bunker.
Yep.
Some loyalists chose suicide, while others, including Traudl Junge, opted for escape. On May 1st, Junge joined a group fleeing the bunker. They navigated a maze of underground passages and emerged into the ruins of Berlin. And it was in ruins.
Oh, yeah. That was getting bombed the fuck out of. So.
Yeah. And Junge described the desperation of civilians that she saw. They were eating scraps and they were eating meat from a dead horse that had been long dead.
Yeah. I mean, they were looking for anything because they didn't. The city was in fucking ruins, obviously. So
So their escape route led through a subway tunnel filled with wounded, homeless, and weary soldiers.
Okay.
And upon nearing like a train station, the group was immediately engulfed in like a hail of like sniper bullets.
Oh, shit.
And somehow they fought their way through, and they sought refuge in like a makeshift bunker.
Okay.
So Hung witnessed another tragedy. Walter Hewell, a member of their group, committed suicide by gunshot and cyanide capsule.
Man, they really like doing it double style.
Yeah. Want to make sure it happens.
Well, yeah, I mean, the cyanide capsule won't kill me. This bullet will.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
So Traudl's escape from the bunker, she wasn't like immediately free. She was captured in Berlin.
Oh, she was? Okay,
She was.
by Allied forces?
In 1944, July of 1945.
Oh, so she made it for over a month.
She left on May 1st, so 2 months.
2 months, yeah. Wow.
So Traudl Young's imprisonment began in a Russian a Russian commandant's Berlin office.
Okay.
And it was followed by like solitary confinement and like a woman's prison.
Oh, gotcha.
So after 14 weeks, she was finally questioned, and it was mainly about Hitler's death.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they were all curious.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that whole conspiracy theory that he fled to Argentina and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
They just wanted to make sure, like, is this really him? Is he really dead? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So through her captors' stories of their own suffering,
Okay.
Traudl starts to notice the horrors of like the Nazi actions.
About fucking time.
So essentially a propaganda veil starts to lift, and she's seeing things a little bit clearer now.
Well, like her husband, who wanted to get away from him, that veil has been lifted because, well, he's dead and can't keep doing it. And a lot of the senior officials were captured or killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was finally starting to realize like how controlled she was.
Yep, exactly. That's crazy. I mean, it's funny that it took that long, but again, you're being manipulated. You're not going to know that. So.
Yeah. So another transfer led Traudl in a crowded cell with suspected spies. Her last possession, her wedding ring, was stolen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
A cellmate also betrays her.
Oh.
And that led to the confiscation of her hidden poison capsule that Traudl still had.
She still had one on her?
She still had one on her.
Did it say where it was hidden?
No. So she's fearing like deportation to Russia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So she wasn't really important.
No.
But she also wasn't unimportant. Like they didn't know what to do with her.
Well, because she had literally an inside track directly to Hitler.
Yeah.
So like maybe she has information.
Yeah. So a kind Armenian interpreter called Arkady actually becomes her lifeline. He arranges better living conditions and work in exchange for staying in the Russian zone.
Oh, okay.
So after an interrogation about Hitler's final days, she finally agrees to like help identify other bunker survivors.
Gotcha.
So Young was held in several jails. She was interrogated about her role in Hitler's entourage and the events surrounding his death.
Sure.
By December 1945, she was released from prison, but restricted to the Soviet sector of Berlin.
Gotcha. So she couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Don't leave town.
Yeah, exactly. So on New Year's Eve 1945, she was admitted to the hospital in the British sector for diphtheria. And she stayed there for about 2 months.
For what?
Diphtheria.
What is that?
I think it's a colon issue.
Oh, dear. She didn't have Cologuard to test it?
No. I think it's...
That's a weird commercial, by the way.
I think that is a colon issue.
Is it? That's all right.
I'm going to look.
Okie dokie.
A serious infection of the nose and throat that's easily preventable by a vaccine.
Oh.
A sheet of thick gray matter covers the back of the throat, making breathing hard. Symptoms include sore throat, fever, swollen lymph nodes, and weakness.
That sounds terrible.
It is the opposite of the back end.
It's the front end.
So while she was there, so she was in the hospital for about 2 months.
Right.
So while she was there, her mother was able to secure paperwork for her, and it required her to move to the British sector of Berlin.
Okay, so that's...
from the British sector to Bavaria.
Oh, okay.
Her paperwork went through, they're going to Bavaria.
Gotcha.
So she received these on February 2nd, 1946, and she traveled from Berlin and across the Soviet occupation zone, which was to become East Germany.
Sure.
to the British zone, and then south to Bavaria in what is known as the American zone.
Oh, I didn't know we had a zone, I guess.
Apparently.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so Junge was held by the Americans for a short time during the first half of 1946 and was interrogated about her time in the Fuhrer bunker.
Of course.
She's like, should I write a book?
I mean, I got these experiences. Should share them.
She was freed and she was allowed to live in West Germany.
Oh, she was? Okay.
Yes. So despite this attempt at normalcy, she had a ton of guilt.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's rightly so.
In 1947, so very shortly after 2 years, Junge began writing her memoir.
Okay.
She stated a goal was to provide like an objective account, but she described Hitler as agreeable, paternal, and she just had this kind of lingering sense of denial.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah. She acknowledged an internal conflict, a warning voice, if you will, about Hitler's true nature, which she obviously ignored.
Right.
Years later, the weight of her past was finally like hitting her.
Okay.
In a 1991 interview, she recounted learning about Sophie Scroll.
Sophie Scroll.
She was a young woman who bravely resisted the Nazis and was executed in 1945.
Oh, dear.
And this sparked a deep sense of guilt.
Sure.
So settling her own youth seemed like a hollow excuse for like her obliviousness.
Right.
She struggled with depression starting in the 1960s, and initially feeling like a general life failure, she later connected it to like her Nazi past.
Which, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the stark contrast between her innocence and the regime's atrocities like deepened her guilt.
Right.
She realizing that Sophie Scroll's resistance at a similar age kind of shattered her self-justification
Well, yeah,
of
because
her
she's
behavior.
like, why didn't I also
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the years of self-awareness brought depression, failed therapy, and like a lot of career struggles.
Yeah.
She also had a writing block, and she was considering escaping to Australia.
Oh.
But the Australian authorities refused Traudl, giving her the reason as her role in the Third Reich.
Well, yeah, I could have guessed that.
But this is the first time after 25 years that she was met with a rejection because of her past.
Well, that's impressive, actually,
Yeah.
because, I mean, most people would have thought that would have been a common occurrence then from the rest of her life.
Yes.
So that's surprising.
So Junge revisited her unfinished memoir, adding a new perspective with her newfound guilt.
Oh, sure.
She acknowledged her initial failure to be critical of Hitler, a naivety that was now more filled with shame.
Sure.
And she didn't actively participate in the atrocities, but she admitted to like enjoying her time with Hitler.
Okay.
And she willfully ignored the warning signs that she had within herself.
Right.
Like she saw the red flag and they're like, no, it's just yellow.
I mean,
That's just yellow.
maybe it's not even a flag. I can't tell.
So Traudl says, quote, I withdrew and let the guilt feelings, the grief and sorrow eat into me. Suddenly, I had become interesting as an eyewitness, which brought me into severe conflict with my guilt complexes, because the conversations were never about the question of guilt, only about the historical facts. So I could describe them without having to justify myself. That was something that weighed on me even more and gave me even more to think about. Today, I mourn for two things: for the fate of those millions of people who were murdered by the National Socialists, and for the girl Traudl Humps who lacked the self-confidence and good sense to speak out against them at the right moment, end quote. Traudl Junge passed away in 2002.
Wow. She was 80, 81, 82? Wow. Okay.
Her autobiography, To the Last Hour, Hitler's Last Secretary, was published after her death.
Bummer.
And obviously it serves as a chilling reminder of the seductive power of evil and the importance of self-reflection.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be. So did you read her entire book?
I did. It is available online.
Okay.
I did not save it because I'm a dumbass. But I will find it again and it will be in our show notes. Because yes, you can read it online. I didn't have to purchase it.
So it was a pretty good read, or I mean, how was it?
It was kind of surface level.
Okay.
She's not a writer.
No,
But
she was a
what
secretary.
she had to say was interesting.
Right. Okay. Well, that's crazy.
It's super easy read.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you find it funny too? You brought up red flags. Do you find it funny that the Nazi flag was red? I mean, it was right there, folks.
It's like, can we be more obvious?
Yeah. No, that's wild to be that close to Hitler, and just I don't know. That's just get entranced by his powers of manipulation. And did she ever marry again? Did it ever say anything like that, or no?
Oh, I didn't. That wasn't part of my research, I'm afraid.
No, that's fine. I didn't think it was relevant. I was just kind of curious because I wonder, because her husband was Heinz, not the Hans, right?
Hans Young was.
Hans Young.
Mm-hmm.
Heinz was the other one.
Yes.
Okay.
Heinz Ling was
that's
the
right.
other one.
Because Hans would have died pretty young too, when he went to the front lines kind of thing. But yeah, that's crazy because having that front row seat to madness is just
it's unique perspective. And
yeah, I mean,
she was so close she didn't see anything, basically.
Well, yeah, right. And to have that, I don't know, the words are escaping me, just that being so close to something so evil. It's like, how do you not fucking see that? But again,
or how do you not become evil yourself?
Yeah. And she kind of reflected on it, almost feeling like she kind of was in a way. Obviously she wasn't. She was just a secretary that happened to be Hitler's fucking secretary, but she clearly felt bad about it.
For sure.
In the end. But no, that's just yeah, I couldn't imagine. That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The evil Hitler and a little secretary girl. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, she was really pretty too.
Was she?
Yeah, there was a documentary where I first learned of her.
Oh, okay.
And she testified with a judge in English. Like she had to learn what she wanted to say in English.
Sure.
But her dictation was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll also try to find that video and put it in the show notes.
Link that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that story. That was very uplifting.
Yeah.
We're on a roll. A couple uplifting stories in a row or so, give or take. Just kidding.
So to kind of recap, my Lakefront Brewery dive beer.
Yes.
My Milwaukee lager.
Yes.
A solid 4.
Oh, you upgraded after.
Yeah, I think it's a solid 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is it? Because Modelo being a lager, where would you put it near Modelo? Would you give Modelo a 5, I guess?
I would.
Because, I mean, I know it's your go-to.
Yeah, I would give Modelo a 5.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, this is smooth. I like it. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, easy drinking, right?
It is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like my Founders Centennial IPA. I'm sticking with my 3.
Yeah.
Definitely, there's ones out there that I personally enjoyed better, and there's definitely worse.
Yeah.
So I'll stick with the 3 on this one.
All right.
But yeah, very good. Well,
do you want to dedicate this episode to your dad?
Yeah, let's do that. So here's to you, Keith. Miss you already, and this episode is to my dad because, well, he loved World War II, and here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers, Dad.
Well,
I suppose. All right, buffoons, that's it for today's episode.
Buckle up because we've got another historical adventure waiting for you next time. Feeling hungry for more buffoonery? Or maybe you have a burning question or a wild historical theory for us to explore.
Hit us up on social media. We're History Buffoons Podcast on Reddit, X, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also email us at historybuffoonspodcast@gmail.com.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and turn those notifications on to stay in the loop.
Until next time, stay curious and don't forget to rate and review us.
Remember, the buffoonery never stops.